Okay, so welcome to part 2. In part 1 we talked about Discotek and Crunchyroll and that new media partnership distribution thing, whatever. Interesting, but let's get into some of the more different things that Discotek have picked up. A nice array of old stuff, 2 or 3 I guess, more modern series. Starting off with the one I accidentally showed in the last video, Shining Tears Cross Wind, I'm going to call it. This is obviously based on the Sega RPG franchise, and it looks like just your generic fantasy laden show with wizards and monsters set in a medieval fantasy-esque setting. Looks relatively interesting. I don't quite remember when it came out. I don't know if this is a relatively super modern show like the last couple of 3 or 4 years or something, or if it's back in like the mid noughties or even earlier. I honestly don't know, but I guess some of the video game, especially considering what else Discotek have licensed today, I guess some of the video game stuff that's video game anime stuff that they've been putting out has done relatively well for them, and Shining Tears is going to be hopefully another one of those for them, I guess. I'm certainly interested in this show. It's not something I would jump on immediately, but at the same time, I like these fantasy type shows. Sometimes I just want to watch something that is exactly like this show appears to be, regardless of quality. Obviously, I don't know how good this is. I can't imagine it's amazing because I've never heard anyone really talk about it. But yeah, I'm certainly interested in it, so that's really cool to see that coming out. That'll probably be definitely DVD and obviously Japanese and English sub. Next. Next is a pretty recent one. This one only just finished, like last season or the season before. I think it was the season before. High School Seiha Girls, which is the moe comedy short thing that Sega made, and yeah, basically it turns the Dreamcast, which is here, Sega Saturn, and the Mega Drive, which is obviously the Sega Genesis. It's known as the Mega Drive around the rest of the world. Yeah, they turn them into these moe girl designs. It's a CG animated series. They very rarely look like this in the show. They tend to look more like this. Actually, no, I think it's when they go inside the video games, which is what happens in the show. They're supposed to be at this high school. Like, I can't remember what the goal of them being there, other than to just graduate, say Ha Academy or something. It's a similar name to a Dreamcast game that was made once. Yeah, I think they just need to graduate or whatever, become Sega doctorates or something. So yeah, they go into all these video games, and each episode tends to be themed around one of those games. And there's some really weird choices, but yeah, they look like this when they go into the games. Outside of the games, they look like this in the actual high school-esque setting, I guess. I was about to say mixed feelings. I actually don't like. I don't like this show. I watched this with Rock God Itachi, and he had to almost. It's like he had to tie me to a chair to finish this. Somehow he was able to do that over Skype. I don't know, but that's pretty much how it was. I just could not bring myself. Even at 11 minutes an episode, I just wanted to kill myself. I was trying to finish the show. It was so terrible. And it was such a missed opportunity. I can't help thinking that... I remember saying this to Rock God Itachi, that one of the things that frustrated me with this show the most is the missed potential. Because I couldn't stop thinking about this video game that came out called Namco High School. And it's like a dating sim. Similar to that I can't know how to say that. You know, the pigeon dating sim thing, like a joke dating sim. There's another one that came out made by Namco themselves, where you could literally just go around and you could date like Pac-Man or the new Rally X car. I think was even in there, the Zevia ship, things crazy, stupid shit like that. And not that I'd really want Sega to make a show that was a dating sim, but I would have preferred a high school setting where you literally just had Sega characters walking around and in the classrooms and stuff, like Sonic, guy from Virtua Fighter, like like the... I actually don't remember a lot of the names, but you know, the guy with the axe from Golden Axe or whatever, And like you could literally just have a Poyo maybe teaching the class. You get Dr. Eggman as the head teacher and stuff, and just tell a load of stupid gags in little 3-minute episodes or something. That would have been fun. I would have liked that. It would have been stupid. Would have been hilarious. You could still have these 3 girls as the main characters if you like, because I'm sure they'll sell stuff like merchandise and stuff, like they're making figures of the characters and etc. But I just hated that this just felt like it was Sega just felt, unsurprisingly, it just felt desperate. Like they thought, oh, this is like we really need to keep Sega as a relevant brand. How do we do that? How do we keep making money off the 90s, basically, off the 6 years in the 90s where we were super popular? Like how do, well, obviously in the 80s as well, but or late 80s. But anyway, but yeah, basically, how do we keep making money off our past? What's really popular nowadays? Moe girls and shit like that. Okay, let's turn the 3 major consoles we made into Moe girls, and let's make a show about it, and let's have Sega Saturn dress up in a bikini, and let's have them do stupid shit like Moe stuff, like trip over, be clumsy like Dreamcast is, like, and Mega Drive's like a bookworm and crap like that. And they could go into Sega video games. Oh, it's terrible, so terrible, really really bad show. But I'm sure others will feel different about it. I just couldn't help feeling how much of a missed opportunity this is. And I decided to get that all off my chest now, because I'm not going to be buying it, so I won't be doing a DVD review when I pick it up or anything. This is my only chance to talk about this show, so yeah, consider it unapproved by Blaze. But if you guys feel different, there you go, then the breaks. That's just the way. Everyone... yeah, everyone's a different person, they like different things. So anyway, let's get into the good stuff, the old stuff, and we start off with a showstopper. Robot Carnival is finally coming out on DVD from Discotek. This is one of those titles where you just feel like it was surely a matter of time before Discotek got this, and apparently that is exactly the case, because they say here at the bottom, okay, time for the older stuff. Finally we can announce the one title we have been chasing for years, Robot Carnival. It will include the Japanese language with English subtitles and the English dub, which was done by Streamline Pictures back in like the early 90s or something. So yes, Robot Carnival. This is a collaboration effort. I can't remember what the correct term for those sort of movies is, but it's a bunch of shorts all piled together to create one feature. It was done by a bunch of up-and-coming 1980s anime directors and just those in the biz, as well as an artist as well. I think it was 9 of them or something. And I believe this is 9 shorts, if I remember correctly, including one that's split up right at the beginning and at the end. Which I can't remember what it's called. Like, it might just be called opening and closing, actually, I can't remember. But yeah, I actually watched this for the first time a week ago or something. At the Anime Hero, I was on his My Anime List, and he just recently watched it, and I just remember thinking, I have always wanted to see Robot Carnival. Still hasn't come out on DVD. The DVD that's out in Japan, which I believe does have some sort of English support on it, was really expensive, and I thought, well, Discotek haven't announced it yet. Turns out they were about to, but I will go and watch it. I've had it on my computer ready to watch for a while. Let's go and do that. And I really, really, really enjoyed it. Like, I have mixed feelings about some of the shorts. There were a couple I didn't like, but there was one in it that I think is one of the best things in terms of animation, especially for a short, that I've seen possibly ever. It's called Presents. Yeah, Presents. And not as in the birthday presents. The presents as in a ghostly present, that sort of present. Okay, so that's what it's called. And all the shorts are themed around robots. That was basically the memo, like, make it about robots. So yeah, then they went off with their own separate budgets or whatever. And I do wonder if Presents had a larger budget than any of the others, because it looks outstanding. Like, the animation is gorgeous. It's so beautifully designed. There is so much detail in that short. It's 20 minutes long. It's by far the longest short as well. And yeah, it's done by the director that went on to do Kite and Mezzo Forte, which are both like borderline hentai ecchi shows. So it's amazing to think that this is the thing he was creating back in the 80s, and considering what he went on. I mean, I know Kite has its fans or whatever. I've never seen it, so I can't really my opinion's not really that valid on it, but yeah, they're not exactly shows that you would consider to be high art or anything, but Presence is amazing in it. I think Robot Carnival is definitely something worth seeing for sure, and definitely worth owning. So I'm really, really happy that this is finally coming out. 9 great artists. I should have just read the title. It says it right there. But yeah, really great stuff, and I cannot recommend this one enough. And I sort of want to push you guys to go and watch Presence at the very least. It's on YouTube, subbed, like Naughty Naughty or whatever. But I sort of want to push you guys to at least go and see that. If you're not going to buy Robot Carnival, and I really think you should, on DVD when it comes out, but if you're not going to, please go and watch Presence on YouTube, because I think it's one of the best pieces of animation I've seen. I really do. It was really amazing. I just remember watching it after watching the first few shorts, and it just blew my mind. Like the rest of it, I thought, this is really cool. I like these. I can see the potential in these. I like the stories. And then Presence started, and I was just like, jaw on the floor all the way through. I said, this is... And when it finished, I was just like, I don't know if I want to see any more Robot Carnival, because I feel like this is... I've reached the pinnacle. Nothing's going to be better than this, as it so proved. Not that the rest of it's bad or anything, but that Presence really did blow me away, and it's worth seeing. So anyway, moving on to the next thing, which is also Robot Carnival, according to this. I must have messed that up. Okay, hopefully I didn't skip over anything. Okay, Earl and Fairy. This is another one of the more modern ones, certainly modern. I think it's like 2008 or something. It's a Shoujo series. It's set in Victorian England. I believe it's Victorian England, or the English countryside at least, although I looked at some screenshots and it showed London, so I'm guessing that it takes place in London at some point as well. But anyway, this looks like a sort of fantastical shoujo series. Yeah, possibly set in the Victorian times. I will probably buy this because, one, I like shoujo shows. I like fantastical, magical type things. Like, yeah, I like that stuff. And the fact it's set in England, so why not? You know, there aren't many anime set in England. I'm from England. Let's watch an anime based on that. So yeah, Earl and Fairy sounds... I don't really know much else about it, but I'll probably buy it eventually. Anyway, moving on. This one... Hell yes, this is such an awesome announcement. I'm so happy this has happened. Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, which is the sequel to Vampire Hunter D, which is like a 1980s movie, which did really, really well in America. It didn't do so well in Japan, but in America it was a big hit, which means back in 2000, I think it was, Madhouse released Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, and they released it primarily for the English-speaking market. So far as I'm aware, the original dub for this movie is English, not Japanese, but it's still anime because it was made in Japan, whatever. And I'm sure there is a Japanese version out there. In fact, I don't know if it actually says there's Japanese on this. No, it doesn't. But one of the cool things about this, it's coming to Blu-ray. I already own the DVD that Madman? No. Manga Entertainment put it. Was it Manga? I actually can't remember. No, I think it was Urban Vision. Urban Vision put it out in America. They were a company that did like some high-profile movies and OVAs, relatively high profile. They were trying to do deluxe releases before the deluxe we know now was really a thing, where they put on a bunch of extras and stuff. They're not around anymore. But anyway, yeah, not to my knowledge anyway. But yeah, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust is a freaking awesome movie. I mean, I like vampires a lot, and I like vampires in anime, and this is probably... I love Blood Plus as a television series, but it's vampire stuff. While it is vampire based, most certainly, it's not the traditional vampire story. Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust is definitely more of a traditional vampire story, as a lot of American movies have portrayed it, and etc. Like, it's very classic in terms of the ultra gothic design, like giant castles, like guy riding on this freaking horse and everything. It's just really, really, really cool. The animation in this is gorgeous, so the idea that this has come out on Blu-ray is freaking awesome news. I'm so happy that is happening, and yeah, I think this is a great pickup from Discotek. I didn't expect it. I'm so happy it's happening, because it's one of my favourite anime movies ever made. Like, it's right in my top 10. It'll be quite a handful of Studio Ghibli movies. I think it's one of those just standout marquee movies that is by far a definite gem and something that all of you should see. If you have not seen this movie already, I imagine a lot of you have, but if you haven't, when the Blu-ray comes out, be sure to buy it. It's certainly worth it, especially if you like gothic vampire stories and the like. So yes, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, very awesome news. Next we have Night Warriors, Darkstalkers, Revenge, the animated series. This is a OVA collection. I don't know how long this is. I think, if my mind remembers correctly, it's 4 episodes, but I could be wrong. But yeah, this is basically an OVA from the 90s, I imagine, based on the Capcom fighting game Night Warriors, or... is that actually what it's called in Japan? I thought it was called Vampire something. It is, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's called like Vampire Warriors or something like that. I own a version of Darkstalkers on the Japanese Sega Saturn. I'm pretty sure on the reverse side it says Vampire Hunter or Vampire Warriors or something, or maybe just Vampire Stalkers, I can't remember. Something like that. But basically this is a Capcom's second biggest fighting franchise, and given that it's Capcom, even though it's probably their second biggest fighting game franchise, a lot of you probably haven't heard of it, because Capcom's obviously biggest fighting game franchise is Street Fighter, so it's kind of a... there is only one, I guess. And yeah, the Darkstalkers just gets pushed to the side. But yeah, it's a really cool fighting game series. I've liked the ones I've played. It's very gothic based, like monster designs. You've got like a mummy, a werewolf, like a vampire girl, as you see on the front. It's just really awesome stuff. And yeah, it's a good fighting game, and I hope that the OVA is good. I've not seen it. I believe I'm pretty darn sure this has already come out in English once. I think probably Central Park Media or Anime Works Media Blasters put it out, but I think it was probably Central Park Media, I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this has already been released once before. I mean, it says it's got an English dub, so I'm going to say definitely been released before. But yeah, I'm happy to see this. It's another in a long line of video game franchises, anime adaptations that Discotek are picking up. They're obviously doing well for them. That doesn't surprise me. I would imagine that they are breaking through to people that obviously don't normally buy anime, but they're very invested in video games. And I feel like the video game community, thanks to things like YouTube and such, is a lot bigger than it was when these sort of releases were first coming out. Like, a lot of people that didn't used to collect video games now do, and they're much more interested in the older franchises and stuff like this. Gets picked up from Discotek, and those people want to go out and see these things. So I can only assume Fatal Fury did well for them. I still haven't freaking got those. Something I'm going to talk about in part 3, where I'm going to try and make sure to pick stuff up when I actually definitely want it as early as I can from Discotek for good reasons. But anyway, yeah, Night Warriors, Darkstalkers, whatever. Okay, so next is something very, very cool. This is Street Fighter 2, the movie, coming to DVD and Blu-ray. Details to be announced later. This was already released in the UK by Manga Entertainment in conjunction with Kaze Entertainment or whatever, on Blu-ray. And the reason why I didn't buy it, unfortunately, is because even though it has the Japanese dub, or Japanese track with English subtitles, the English dub that Manga Entertainment, I believe, produced, does not contain the swearing. It's censored. I don't know why they did that. I mean, the release is still a 15, probably because of Chun-Li's shower scene, so why they decided to take out the swearing is beyond me. It really is. The only reason I can think of for doing that was something along the lines like they didn't have good enough audio masters for like the original uncut version, and maybe they did for a censored version that they had to show on telly. They had good track masters for that or something. That is the only reason I could think of for doing that, because as I've mentioned many times before, when it comes to classic movies and OVAs from the 90s, classic being a term that probably isn't often used for these type of movies and releases that they did, but still older releases of movies and OVAs, they did these dubs, and they used to add swearing in it to try and make it more appealing to an older teenage, young adult audience, trying to make people realise that anime is not for kids. It's got swearing and violence and, you know, nudity or whatever, and they wanted to make it more appealing. And yeah, to do that they did swearing. Swearing's not cool, kids, but turns out in some ways it kind of is. But it certainly is when it comes to these things, because they add a lot to it for me. When I'm watching something like Street Fighter 2 the movie, I'm not watching it because it's a high quality piece of art. Like, it is not a My Neighbor Totoro, a Princess Mononoke, a Whisper of the Heart, a Grave of the Fireflies. I know they're all Studio Ghibli movies I just mentioned, but you get my point. Like, this is not going to be one of the classic anime movies to live on in the memory. What this is I'm going to sit down with popcorn at 11 o'clock at night and I'm going to watch this because it is cheesy fun, and I want the swearing in it. The swearing makes it more appealing. It makes it more fun. The fact that I wasn't in the UK Blu-ray meant I did not buy it. I could not buy it. I wanted to buy it because this is a really... I know I just said it isn't high art, but this is a really nice animated movie. Like, the characters are ridiculously over designed. Like, they got more muscles than you can possibly imagine. And it's just got some great action in it. It's a beloved franchise of the 90s that anyone of my age played and loved. So yeah, it's just one of those things that it's something I definitely want to own, and the idea of owning it on Blu-ray, given this is a traditional cell animated series, means it will probably look amazing. A movie would mean it probably looks amazing on Blu-ray. I want to see it in high definition, but I want that English dub. The fact that Discotek themselves actually don't announce that this is definitely coming with the English dub uncensored worries me, but I feel like it's surely just a matter of them not feeling the need to announce something like that it's uncensored, because obviously they're going to put the normal dub on it with the swearing, I would hope. If they don't, then I'm going to be really, really sad, and if they don't, it's probably because of the reasons I suggested, that either the swearing track just isn't available anymore, there is no good masters for it, or for some reason they choose that the censored version is better quality, so we'll use that. But I feel like Discotek aren't the company to do that. But yeah, happy for it, but it needs the swearing. It needs it badly. Okay, something that isn't technically anime, but we'll talk about anyway because it was announced. Street Fighter 2 USA Network TV series. So no art yet, so here's a couple of screenshots. So I believe this is probably definitely a North American produced, I assume, Street Fighter 2 series. I mean, Street Fighter was one of the biggest franchises in the 90s. I mean, I feel like it was Mario was like the biggest thing going, and then after that, I think that saying that Street Fighter was probably the next biggest video game franchise out after the Mario, and I suppose Sonic as well. But after those two, I really do feel like Street Fighter is probably the next biggest thing. When you go back to that time, they made live action movies, they made animated series, they made anime, obviously an anime movie. There was all you could buy action figures for them. They made TV series for it. They continued to re-release Street Fighter 2 over and over and over again with just slight improvements, and it didn't matter because they kept selling because people wanted it. Like, this was one of the biggest games ever released, and yeah. So this is obviously an I've said it before, I'm pretty sure this is an American television series based on the franchise, and again, video game stuff is certainly something that Discotek seem to be looking into. I don't know if I'll buy this personally. I don't really have enough time in my schedule to watch something that isn't anime. Like, that might sound crazy, like you should just watch what you want to watch, but I don't really have a keen interest in seeing this anyway. The only real Street Fighter thing I want to own is this. So I'm happy that's coming at least. But yeah, I don't know if I'll actually get this or not, but probably not, I'm going to suggest. But I'm glad it's coming out for probably the thousands of people that definitely want it. So that's good news, and I believe that's it. No, there's one more thing. This is funny in many ways. This is Night on the Galactic Railroad. The plan is to release this on DVD and later on Blu-ray this year, Japanese and English subtitles and English dub from Central Park Media. This is funny because on my last pickups video, Mr. Kage09 was telling me how he recently picked up five 5-star stories, which isn't hard to get now, apparently last year it wasn't so hard to get, and I was almost got it but didn't, and now I'm regretting it. But it seems impossible to find now. But it's a movie. I believe it's a movie, possibly a 3-episode movie or something like that, from like the late 80s or early 90s, from Sunrise that ADV put out. And he was also telling me that he was really glad to finally track it down because it was hard to find, which it certainly is these days. And he was saying how he was also looking for Night on the Galactic Railroad, which I had been looking for many years myself, but hadn't been able to find at a decent price because it was very much out of print. There was the worry of getting a bootleg copy. There was like some almost near identical bootleg version going about as well, similar to what the Bandai stuff is on eBay and stuff. But I hadn't looked for quite a while. You're probably talking about a year. And he mentioned it, and I was like, oh, I'll go and have a look to see what the prices are for it these days. And it was even more expensive than it ever was on Amazon. It was like $116 or something. I was like, okay, that's I'm not doing that. And then I went on to eBay, and I found I found it on there for $66, which was way too much money for me at the time. But I thought, oh, I'll put it on watch, and we'll see. And while this was all going on, I was thinking, Discotek will probably announce this at some point. Like, I feel like this is a Discotek title through and through. It's now out on Blu-ray in Japan. I feel like this isn't going to be a hard thing for them to be able to pick up. It's just, is the interest there? And someone on Fandom Post said the interest probably isn't there. And I was thinking, yeah, you might be right. I mean, it was a pretty obscure thing to release. I mean, it's based on it's like they anthropomorphize. I never remember how to say that, but basically cat people. Instead of normal people. Like it's based on a novel from back in like the 1930s by an Italian dude whose name I completely forget. But Italian author from back in the 1930s or something. And yeah, his story just has normal people, like normal kids and stuff. It's not like cat people or anything like this is. And it's actually been animated. There's already a release of it before that was done like back in the 70s or something that had like normal kids, like normal people or whatever. But back in the 80s or something, they also did this. I think it was 80s, yeah. And yeah, they did this with the cat people designs or whatever. That's just what I'm going to call them. That's my description. I'm going with it. So yeah, the cat people design or whatever. Yeah, but it didn't. It's a very slow movie. It's a very you could almost compare it in some way to an experimental film, because they go on this train and they just see all this weird, almost Fantasia-esque stuff going on outside. But I've always been interested in it because I love Galaxy Express 39. I love the idea of going on symbolizing a journey of some sort for a character by using a train that goes on this mystical voyage. I think is a really awesome artistic vision. And Night on the Galactic Railroad and Galaxy Express 39 both use that. And obviously I'm a huge Ladyverse fan. I've seen Night on the Galactic Railroad before. And yeah, I've always been interested in owning it. But I also was convinced, well not wholly convinced, but this person convinced me enough that perhaps Discotek weren't going to announce this anytime soon. Turned out a week later they were going to, but whatever. So I eventually went back to eBay and I was on my watch list, and I saw that the person that was selling it for $66 had dropped it all the way down to $35 with a best offer thing on it as well. So I made an offer of $30, they accepted. I now have that DVD coming my way for a pretty good price, I thought, like considerably cheaper than I've seen it go anywhere on the internet for a very long time. So I was really happy. But now this has been announced. But I was also quite guilty because Mr. Kage 09 was the reason I gone and picked this up, and I felt kind of like I pulled the rug from beneath his feet on the deal, sort of like I didn't tell him that I'd found this cheap version because I wanted it too. But the only reason I was looking for it was because he suggested it, so I had been feeling guilty about making this purchase. But now I don't have to feel guilty because Night on the Galactic Railroad is coming out on DVD and Blu-ray, so he'll be able to get his copy. I have a copy coming. It's almost obsolete already because now I want the Blu-ray, obviously. Yeah. The funny thing is, even if I told him, and if he'd gone and bought it, and then Discotek and announced it a couple of days later, I would have felt guilty as well. So there was no way for me to win in that situation. But in some ways, the only person who's ended up wasting money is me. I bought it, even at $30. It's probably how much the Blu-ray is going to end up costing me later on. So yeah, I'm the one that wasted money. In the end, I saved him money, but I still felt a little bit guilty about it. I thought I'd be honest about that because I was talking about it with Rock Got a Touch. I feel really bad about doing this. Like, I could have told him I found this cheaper copy, way cheaper. The only reason I found it was because he talked to me about it, but I want it too. So yeah, I thought I'd be honest about that and talk about it. So yeah, Night of the Galactic Rover. Really happy it's coming out on Blu-ray and DVD. So yeah. I believe that's definitely the last thing. Yes, it is. So we're going to end this part. It's probably a really, really long part. In the next part, we're going to talk very quickly about a new scheme that Discotek are doing, and I think it's very, very interesting, and I want you guys to definitely at least check out the post they made on Facebook for this, or at least watch my video about it. If you're a fan of classic anime, this is a must. You must go to read the thing on Facebook, or you can, if you like, listen to me talk about it. So yeah, see you in the next part.